Hello, everyone. This is Shikha Tiwari, and welcome to another episode at You Reinvent. Today, we will be talking about how to get more collaboration from our children. In other words, how to get our children to listen. Now, the reason I'm not using the word get our children to listen is because, it just twists the whole dynamics. So we're looking for ways where we can use tools and tips and techniques that we as parents can use to get more collaboration from our children. So that's going to be the topic of the day. But I want to start with a story. This story, actually, I met someone, I think, if nothing, at least 15 years back. And this lady, she had recently become a mother. And when I met her, her child was about, I think, 30 days or 40 days or something. And, I asked her, in my head, I was thinking that, oh my God, she must be struggling, you know, sleepless nights and so on and so forth. And I asked her, so how's it going, And she said, oh, it's going wonderful. I have a system in place and, everything is working fine. And, he's a good child. And I'm thinking, what kind of a system can he have in place for a 30-day, child? And while I was talking to her, she started explaining, that she had set nap times, schedules, feeding times, bathing time, everything had a structure. And the 30-day, I mean, literally a 1-month-old child was kind of falling into that structure. And she said, but the trouble is, and this was her point of venting, She said, when I meet most parents or most people, they always tell me, oh, he's such a happy child. That's so nice. But most people don't realize that it takes work to, get to a point where my child is happy, because I have created a system where all his needs, the primal needs, are met. And that's why he's happy, because he's rested, he's fed, he's not sleepy, he's not tired, he's not, sweaty or anything like that. So, and this is what parenting is about. You create an environment where your child can thrive. And, it's been 15 years and I don't forget that story. That time I kind of didn't relate to it much. But when I had my own daughter, I realized, okay, this is what this lady was talking about. And I'm a fan of systems and, processes and schedules, because if you don't have a schedule, I mean, what are you aiming at? It's like, wandering in the wilderness, right? But when we are living in a city, you have things to do. You have school at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. You can't be wandering in the wilderness. So, but having said that, we all know that, it's not easy. And parenting takes effort, time, commitment, and most of all, evolution, our own evolution, not the child's. Right? And while we all understand this, if the moms were to meet at coffee or just, chit chat, they will all agree, yes, this is what it is. But when it gets to doing it, somehow, magically, everything goes wrong. And today we are going to figure out that what happens, why does it go wrong? But most of all, we will focus on how to fix it, because, we are not sort of trying to, today's topic will be more trying to figure out solutions than deconstructing it and trying to figure out reasons of why what happens. We're not doing that. So I will be talking to Dr. Janice Maorais. Dr. Janice is a dentist, counseling psychologist, and a parent coach. She's a mom of twins who firmly believes that, every interaction we have with our children molds their personality. So she conducts webinars and one-on-one coaching for behavior management of children, and she's an avid reader herself. And needless to say, she loves meeting new people. So after this session, you are more than welcome to write to her in the comment section, and I will try and arrange a one-to-one coaching with her and you, if you like. And look forward to the conversation. Let's welcome Dr. Janice Maorais. Hi, Janice. Thank you so much for joining me on a Sunday morning. I know it's a packed Sunday most of the times. So thank you so much for taking out the time.
Thank you, Shikha, for inviting me.
Yeah, sure. Uh, Janice, I wanted to start with an opening comment from you on why, as parents, most of all, I mean, I've been talking, especially because of this session, I've been talking to parents, and the universal sort of complaint or something is, my child just does not listen. And if somebody's child is listening in that moment, they're like, you're lucky, you know, you have a nice child. You look at mine and then you'll know. So there is this common thing that if a child is listening, you just got lucky. So what do you have to say on that?
So first of all, we need to define what is listening.
Mm-hmm.
For us, listening is obedience. Listening is compliance.
In
So
that very
for
moment.
a parent, in that moment, like I have told my child to keep the book on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Your child has heard it, but the child is not doing it. So first you define what is listening for you. Listening is your child hearing you out, or listening is your child abiding and complying to what you say at that very moment.
Following up on. Okay, that's wonderful.
So that is how we need to define listening.
Great.
And for parents, what happens is we see ourselves in a place of power, in the place of control. So we see ourselves here, we see our children here. Okay. And we feel we have this fallacy of control where we think that I say and somebody below me has to abide by it.
Yeah.
Will follow. We don't see our children as a separate human being. So when I have said keep that book on the table and my child hasn't, that means my child is not listening to me. And that's how we get into the thing that my child is not listening. And then in one such incident happens, child hasn't listened. I mean, hasn't abided by what you say. Then that keeps happening again and again. And then every time you keep on saying, my child doesn't listen. You are saying this in front of the child. You've started labeling your child. And then that has become a pattern.
Yeah. Anyways, don't listen. So what, I mean, let me just kind of follow through on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that is why we get into the pattern and get into the conversations with our friends also that my child doesn't listen.
Yeah. Okay. So you're saying essentially there is a difference that it's not like your child is not listening. He or she has not obeyed you or followed through on your request in that very moment. Right? Okay.
Right.
So that brings us to the next, part of the discussion. Then what do we do? Because essentially, I mean, see, parenting is hard. No judgments, because I mean, most parents are nowadays working, even mothers, they're working long hours, they're stressed, they're tired, they have the work stress, family stress. And to top it all, the child is not listening, I mean, to put it in the most simple words. What should we do?
So sometimes what happens is we are busy, as you rightly said, we are busy. Okay. And like I am doing something in the kitchen. Okay. And from the kitchen, I shout at my kid who's watching TV, go and keep your timetable, go and finish your homework.
Yeah. Because you're trying to juggle and get things done.
Yeah, I'm getting things done, and the child has to keep his timetable, and I'm shouting from there. So words have come from my mouth. I expect that my child hears it first thing and then abide by it. But has the child even heard it? You have said the words, but has the child even heard it? So I would say you need to first connect with your child. See if you and your child are in the same space. Like for example, right now, we both are looking at each other and talking. We are in the same space. So you are putting in some question and I am answering that.
Right.
But when your child is busy doing something else and you are busy doing something else, you just say some stuff. That doesn't mean your child has heard it or acknowledged it even.
Yeah.
So how can we expect your child is going to follow through? So the first step is connect. Go to your child and say, you know what, you're watching TV, but right now we need to keep timetable. Make eye contact. If eye contact not possible, physical contact. If you're able to take out that 1-2 minutes to connect before you say your words, that means at least your child has heard. The first step is done.
Okay.
So I would say you first connect with your child.
Wonderful.
Before you put forward your advice or your request.
Yeah. Okay. And mostly our requests are, like transactional in nature. Put your shoes away, sharpen your pencils, is a pencil box packed. I mean, for the age group that I'm talking, we are not talking about, right now, we are not addressing, let's say, conversations between a parent and a teenager. We're talking about, maybe a 7 to 10, 5 to 10, that age group.
So here also, Shikha, what is happening is the child is trying to get power for himself or herself. And for
Right.
us as parents, it is difficult to see that small baby slowly becoming
Right.
into an
Right.
individual, showing the individuality and exercising their power. They are also testing. Can
Correct.
I
Absolutely. Can
not
I do
keep
this?
timetable and see?
See what
Can I
happens.
just
Yeah.
not listen and see what happens?
Yeah.
And often it is also that, why should I?
Correct.
They
They
are
don't
also
understand
wondering,
the necessity of it. Yeah.
why should I? And why
Mm.
should it be right now? I can do it maybe later. So they are also trying to figure out where they stand in this family dynamic, how much power they hold here within the family setup. So if you
Mm-hmm.
try to understand, they also have a reason why they are doing certain things.
Sort of,
We all,
yeah, not
yeah,
listening in that sense, I mean, like how
yeah.
we
And
are understanding. Yeah.
we see that as a child not respecting
Respecting or
what
responding,
I
to us.
say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we see it that way. But for
Mm.
the child is just trying to figure out, where do I stand in this power game, so to speak.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I mean, to your point, the child is trying to figure out, like where he or she stands in that power game. And also, I mean, I think it starts at about 6 or something. They're testing your limits. When you say no, are you going to say no the 50th time also?
Yes.
So
Yes.
because if you're on the 49th time, your no is going to change into yes, and then I'm going to ask you 49 times because that's what I want.
Yeah. So that is where your consistency comes into play.
Right.
When you are making rules for your child,
Mm.
and your child is also testing you, you
Mm.
need to be consistent. Like for
Mm-hmm.
example, it's very common, the screen with food is a very common thing, I would say here. So every time your child is testing that,
Yeah.
I want to watch a screen with my lunch or with my
Yeah.
dinner,
Mm.
and then you say no, but on the second day you busy and you want your child to just finish
Finish
food
it up.
immediately, and then you have put on the TV so that your child just finishes eating, and then on the third day you again say no, and then the child is confused that there's no
What the
consistency.
heck?
One
Yeah.
day you say yes, second day you say no, so chalo, now today I want
I'm
to
going to
put
test
on
you.
the,
Yeah.
I want.
And
So then the mother says no, no, not possible. Then the child says yes. Now the mother says mera bachcha mera sunta nahi hai,
sunta
the
nahi.
child doesn't listen to me.
Correct.
Where
And
has the consistency started from?
exactly. To add to the scenario that you just shared, also, I mean, especially like I'm a work from home mom, so what happens
Uh-huh.
is if I have a call or a client call during the time when lunch has to be had, then I'm all relaxed. Oh yeah, you watch TV and finish your lunch while I go finish this call. But when I'm not on
Right.
call, I want a different behavior. So it's
Uh,
also how present you are. I mean, client call is just one reason, but do you have the emotional bandwidth to be present with your child? Sometimes we don't.
hmm.
We are all exhausted. We're
Hmm.
burnt out on a daily basis. I
Hmm.
mean, mothers, I think,
Right.
are burnt out on a daily basis. So,
Right.
then it depends on how charged you are or how energetic you are to sort of engage with the child. And
Right.
so that brings me to, my maybe another tip from you that, okay, first is connection. But let's say I'm exhausted. I
Hmm.
don't have like I said, the emotional bandwidth, the cognitive bandwidth to once again say the same thing that, okay, can you put your shoes away, can
Hmm.
you can you finish your food?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
we'll get to the scenarios later, but we're just right now talking about some universal tips that are going to work. So what
Hmm.
else can we do?
Okay. So here, once we need to get curious
Mm-hmm.
of why the child isn't doing this, why the child isn't following through. See, when we see our child, we see their actions and their behavior. But
Mm.
all this action and behavior, the interactions we have with child,
The tip of
whatever
the
we see,
iceberg. Mm.
it is just the tip of the iceberg, because inside there is an
So
unmet
much.
need,
Mm.
some want, some belief. Okay, so we need to address that part. But of course, we cannot do it then and there when we are busy, when we are burnt out. But other times, if we get a chance, if we can connect, I would say the next step is be curious of why the child is not doing this. And if you talk about the age group 6 onwards, here the child is ready to collaborate with you in terms of discipline.
Okay.
So you know that at this stage, your child is going to come and take power. Why not you start giving that power to your baby? To your baby, I say, to your child now.
Yeah, kind of pick your battles, you know, where you can sort of and where you can't. Yeah.
And talk. Like, for example, if we take a specific example, put on your shoes. Why I see you have not put on your shoes. Is there any reason? Now, what has happened is suddenly you have come on the same team. Otherwise, it was the child here, you are telling your child says no, you are against each other. But now you have first connected with your child and gotten curious and not blaming that I said you are not wearing, I told you wear your shoes, you are not wearing your shoes. You're not saying that. You are just saying this, that I see that you haven't worn your shoes. Is there any reason? Get curious. So what happens when you get curious? First thing is, this question is important because you want to know why my child is doing. I see the tip of the iceberg, what is underneath, I want to find out. First thing is that. And secondly, by asking this question, you are making your child also think, okay, mama says their shoes. Why am I not doing this? So here the child has also started thinking. Okay. You may not get an answer here. You may not get immediate obedience here, but at least you have made your child think. And that is what we want. We don't want to be helicoptering around the baby every time.
We want them to sort of take the cues and start performing, you know, like, okay, it's about 7 o'clock, but I see that your shoes are not on. You want to be out of the gate, you know?
Yeah, that internal anchor. And then also talk about the consequences that, you know what, if you do not wear your shoes and leave right now, you may miss the bus. You shouldn't say that if you don't wear your shoes today in the night, you will not get chocolate. That doesn't make sense. So the consequences are also so funny sometimes, the way we give our children that do this, otherwise chocolate nahi milega. How is chocolate and shoes even related?
Yeah, and I think nowadays the standard has become, I'm not going to give you the phone or the tablet, or, you know, I'm not going to let you watch everything, is because that's kind of become the newest candy, you know.
The new candy, yes. And automatically when you bribe children using these things, so that means what you have said, you've already put screens into a different pedestal. So the child is, I have to earn to get that. So that means, oh wow, there has to be something good there. And of course, there are lots of good things there. But we have also started putting screens on a different pedestal. And we are using screens to attain those compliance and obedience from our children. But we have not been using this opportunity to develop the internal anchor in our child.
Absolutely. And which is where I think most of the frustration is coming in. And of course, we'll discuss this because this is one of the topics that came up in the survey. We'll discuss this. So, okay, connection, and we get curious. Instead of, you know, being dictatorial in our, you know, response to doing something, we ask them, okay, I see that you've not done it. You know, why? Anything else we can do?
Yeah, we can collaborate. We can start talking about it. But I would say don't talk at that very moment.
Okay.
Beforehand, only start talking about it. Like, for example, just we are taking the example of the child putting on the shoes because the child has to go to school. Start talking about it the previous day itself. You know, tomorrow we have to do this, we will be going to school. So, you know, we can go through, first have our breakfast, then we put on our bag, then we put on our shoes. So a pattern sort of a thing is happening. Also, children learn a lot from us also. Like, okay, mama has put on the shoes, papa has put on the shoes. So even and they have got the key ready. So come on now, even I have to. So you are only sitting and ordering.
Actually,
you know, and not doing things.
It's interesting that you mentioned it. I mean, if you look at, you know, toddlers, the moment the mama is putting on a dupatta or a sari or has picked up a purse, you will see the toddler is at the door. You know, because they picked up that social cues. I think by the time they're 5 or 6, I think maybe from a standpoint of their own schedule, because we may have our own schedule, because they have their own schedule going on in their head, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So your schedule is interfering with their schedule, and we have not
Hmm.
collaborated to find out that what is that
Hmm.
golden hour, where can we talk or where can
Yeah.
we do things.
Right.
So
So
as
I would suggest parents get that opportunity, connect at a time, not at the
before,
moment,
not in
but
that moment.
beforehand. Yeah, not in that moment.
Wonderful.
Like even with screens, I think we can speak about it later. How to get
Yeah.
the collaboration
Yeah.
there. So I would say connection, getting curious, and collaboration.
Collaboration,
That's
the
how
three
we can do.
C's, so to
Yeah.
say. Okay, great.
3 C's also. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, nowadays you have to kind of make everything, so that I'm a learning consultant. So, for me, everything has to be, if you can get your children to retain it, it's done. Your job is half done. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay.